Good afternoon, good evening. We will get started here in a few minutes. We're going to give folks a chance to jump on. Then we'll get into our topic tonight. Tonight, we'll be talking about turning passion into purpose or purpose into passion. I hope everyone has had a wonderful day so far. We're at the midpoint, so hump day. We're halfway through the week. Hope you got some good things planned for the weekend. Something that excites you, something that ignites you, if you will. And tonight, matter of fact, we're going to talk about how passion and purpose work together, whether it's our vocation, our profession, or just the things that we enjoy doing. How do we tie all of that together? We'll talk about that tonight. Hello, everyone. We will be getting started here in a few seconds. Hello, my love, my lady, my wife. Alexa, pause. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining me. Of course, I'm your host, Dr. Devin Oten, and you have joined me on my podcast, Meaningful Conversations with Dr. Oten. Tonight, we're talking about turning passion into purpose or purpose into passion. And how do you transform what you love into meaningful work, or more importantly, community impact? We should be thinking beyond ourselves. That's what passion really should do. Purpose really should do is drive us to a place where we're thinking about not only what's satisfying, gratifying to us personally, but also how do we use that to impact others? You know, our household, our children, our spouse, our immediate family, uh, our friends, our neighbors, and more specifically, our community. How do we, use what we love, what really excites us, gets us going, what really motivates us, inspires us? How do we use that to impact others, right? And we'll look at some examples of that. I'll talk about some of the things that I've done and some of the things that I'm doing now that really generate, and it's passion, if you will, gives me a sense of purpose, why I'm here on earth, what I'm designed to do with this short period of time that we have here in this particular life. So let's jump into that. Once again, welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, invite friends, family to join us if you feel that this is worthwhile. which I believe it is, because we're just having a conversation. Please jump in. If you have something you want to add in the chat, you have a question, please jump in. We'll, try to answer that. If not, we'll find an answer if we don't have the answer. So, of course, as you know, I like to start with, research that I've done prior to coming on to the podcast. Look at some key data points, look at what the research says about what we're talking about, because we don't want to just fly by the seat of our pants, right? We want to have a foundation, a good foundation, looking at some good resources, some good research, and some life experiences, right? So that's what we're going to do. So some of the key data points. McKinsey did a study in 2023, and this study surrounded the power of purpose in life and work. And 70% of people that were surveyed or interviewed for this particular study, they defined their sense of purpose through their work. So most people think that they're defined, their purpose is defined by the work that they do. Yet, in the same study, same survey, same people, only 15% say they are living it daily. So what that tells me is that we think that what we do for a living is what we are designed maybe to do, yet we don't feel an excitement, a passion about what it is that we're doing. We don't necessarily think that it's making some sort of impact on others in a positive way, according to this research. And the people who identify their purpose are 2.5 times more likely to be engaged in their jobs. That's according to the Harvard Business Review, and that was done in 2022. I want you to think about that. 2.5, the people who think or identify their purpose, know what their purpose is, they are 2.5 times more likely to be engaged in their jobs and what they do. So in other words, a lot of people on their jobs, and they're just there to collect a paycheck. They're really not engaged. It's not something that they wake up in the morning excited to do. It's not something that they continue to try to develop and to grow in. It's just a job. It's a means to an end in terms of paying for their living. That's putting a roof over their head, food on their table, transportation, healthcare, whatever the case may be. Very few of us actually engage with our work in that particular manner. So what I would challenge everyone to do is to, think about what really, gets us going, what really ignites us, what really excites us about life and why we're here and what we're supposed to do. And what I've learned is when I'm in that mode of I'm doing something that really I'm supposed to be doing, I feel that passion for it. I feel it's a purpose for me while I'm here on this earth. I have so much more satisfaction. I'm so much more gratified with my day and with the things that I've done during that day, the people that I've had an opportunity to interact with, and hopefully impact them in a positive way, and vice versa. I'm looking to be around people who impact me in a positive way, right? So Stanford University, in a study a few years ago, found that individuals who feel a sense of purpose report 60% greater psychological well-being and 40% lower stress levels. So for a number of us who are feeling so much stress on our jobs, feeling so much stress even when we get home, one of the indicators is maybe you're not walking in that purpose that you have. We shared this last week on our last episode that the greatest joy, the greatest passion, if you will, the greatest purpose that I've ever felt in my life is when I was in ministry, when I was pastoring, right? Interacting and engaging with people daily, in the church and doing the work of ministry in the neighborhood, in the community, getting out, visiting the sick and the shut in, being able to pray for people and encourage people in the things of God. That was the greatest time for me. And actually getting back to that even now as we speak, the Lord has a way of bringing us back to where we're supposed to be and making us or encouraging us, if you will, because of course he's not going to make us do anything, encouraging us to do what he has gifted us to do, purpose for us to do, and anointed for us to do. Now, I'm not saying that what you're doing to make a living is not what you are supposed to be doing. Maybe in the job that you're in right now, maybe you're working in the wrong unit, the wrong business unit. Maybe you're working on the wrong project. You just need to find the right project, join the right business unit within your organization that really ignites your passion and gets you excited about life all over again, if that makes sense to you. So from passion to profession, how do we channel that? We have a passion for certain things. How do we channel that into a profession, right? So I grew up, working with my hands quite a bit, being in the garden with my grandmother. She made sure we were in the yard doing work when we were not, doing homework or doing some other activity outside of school. She made sure we were in the garden, pulling the weeds out of the garden, cutting grass, trimming up the hedges, pruning her trees, pruning her rose bushes. Just she always had us doing something, putting our hands on something. And I can remember when, I had some difficult times some years ago and had to become a single dad. I had to cut back on my travel and the things that I was doing because I was traveling quite a bit for the work I was doing in publishing and in internet sales and marketing and things of that nature. And, I was taking sometimes 1-2 trips a week, flying out to, wherever, California, Chicago, New York, be there for a day or two, make a presentation, get back, have to get in the pulpit and follow up with things that we were doing in the community, get back at the end of the week and be prepared to teach and preach on Sunday morning. And I remember when I was going through that time, I knew I had to cut back. I couldn't travel like that. I was a single dad, 2 young children, raising them, trying to, make sure they were where they were supposed to be, doing what they were supposed to do. And I was like, you know what? If I'm cutting back here, what else really gets me going, gets me excited? What else really motivates me? And it came back to me how much I enjoy, even in my yard. My home at the time was sitting on a 1/4 acre. So, I was out there each week, almost every day, doing something in my yard, cutting grass, pruning, my rose bushes, uh, pruning my palm trees, whatever it was, trimming my hedges. I enjoyed. That was, just a time for me to just reflect and meditate while I was out working in my yard. And I decided to do a little research and see, what would it be like for me to start a lawn care business, a landscaping business, which I did when I was young. I was cutting grass on Saturday morning. If I wanted to have money for me and my friends, we would, jump on the bus and head downtown, be on Canal Street, go see a movie. We go into the French Quarter and play arcades and, get something to eat, maybe, have some money to do a little shopping. So I would cut grass. We'd get up early Saturday morning, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. We'd cut, 5 to 10 yards. Back then you was getting like $3 a yard. So you cut 10 yards, you got about $30. And we would go out and have a good time. So I decided to, just do a little research and see, because we were in a community where there was a lot of new construction going on, a lot of new housing going up. So I did research on, do we have a number of landscapers and lawn care people in the area, in the community. And of course, I would see the guys and gals out there, with their trucks and with their lawnmowers. And it seemed like it was something viable, something that, I would really enjoy, would really motivate me to get up and transition where I could be home every day as opposed to traveling all the time. And I made designed some really nice postcards with information, with the name of the landscape and lawn care business, and got some business cards. Went and bought all new lawn equipment, zero turn lawnmowers, the commercial grade blowers and weed eaters, and just got all of this stuff, the edgers, and got my kids together. And after school, we would just go to the different communities that were coming up and put the postcards on the doors, and just talk to people and tell them, hey, we live here in the community, starting a new lawn care, landscaping business. And within hours, if you will, we were getting calls and getting contracts in place, and the business just began to grow. And it was something that I enjoyed doing, getting out, meeting people, designing landscaping for these new houses coming up, and, going to the different nurseries and buying all the plants and shrubs and all of that stuff and putting that, installing it, cutting the grass once a week during the summer, of course. So that was something that really excited me, something that I had a passion for. And I just went back to what I did, something that I did as a kid. So, a lot of things that we go through, we can share this with our children as kids, chores that we were given to do, or assignments we were given by our parents or grandparents. Those things can turn into something that creates and generates a passion for us and also a purpose. And of course, in lawn care and landscaping, people want their house to look nice, and you go out and you contribute to that, contribute to your community, your neighborhood, beautifying it, making sure it looks good and pleasant, and helping to increase property values. So there was a lot of community impact, if you will, and just having that particular purpose. All right. So Gallup, we looked at in their State of the Global Workforce Report in 2023, showed that 23% of employees feel engaged, meaning most are not working in roles that align with their passions. We talked about that just a minute ago. All right, let's get into generations. Millennials and Gen Z, Generation Z, they're the ones that are leading this shift and giving us more meaning and more understanding to what passion and purpose looks like. 74% of millennials and Gen Z say they would take a pay cut to do meaningful work. And that's according to a LinkedIn Workplace Learning Report in 2023. Like I said, I went through that. I had to cut back on the work I was doing, the travel that I was doing. And that was because I wanted to, of course, increase my quality of life, not be on the road as much, stressed out about traveling. And from that time, guys, I can remember I was traveling for a good straight 7, 8, 9, 10 years on the road. I can't remember how many hundreds of thousands of air miles that I had during that time. I was in, several different cities almost each week. And when I first started, I would go and be gone for quite a bit of time. And, my assistant pastors and elders had to take care of ministry stuff for me while I was gone. And as I grew and matured and learned how to travel and how to do business, I was able to make these trips in a day and come back and be available to the parishioners in our ministry and some of the other churches that we were working with. But I had to make a decision. And, sometimes when we make that decision, we just have to shift and change how we live. We may have to get a smaller house. We may have to get a smaller car, to save on, gas and insurance and all of those sorts of things. But our life is more fulfilling. We see the value in our life and meaning in our life begin to increase just by making those types of shifts and making those types of decisions. So we see that millennials and Gen Z, according to this report by LinkedIn in 2023, they would take a pay cut to be able to do meaningful work. Think about that. Take a pay cut to do meaningful work. Of course, us, Generation X, baby boomers before us, we were, motivated to work hard, build up our portfolios, get real estate, all of those sorts of things. And sometimes we missed um, the opportunity to do some things that really inspire. And I'm not saying that all of us, Generation X baby boomers, did not find our passion in life and turn that into purpose, or even our purpose in life, understand how that could be very passionate for us in our lives. So please jump in if you have some comments, you have some questions. We can share those and also address some of those questions. Once again, thank you for being on. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that bell on the YouTube channel so you'll be reminded of when we go live. We're here every Wednesday at 7 o'clock. That's Pacific time. That's 9 Central, 10 Eastern. But yeah, like, subscribe, comment, and get engaged with me because I want this to be a conversation, not just me talking, but us talking to each other and communicating with each other. Deloitte, their purpose index in 2022 found that organizations that are driven by purpose are 3 times faster, or they grow 3 times faster than their competitors. So the people who work in organizations where the culture encourages and trains and develops their people to understand that what they're doing can be a passion for them. They feel like they're doing great work. Those who communicate what they're doing and the kind of impact that they're making within the organization, those companies tend to grow 3 times faster than those companies who are just concerned with you coming in, punching a clock, and getting whatever assignment that you're working on, whatever project that you're working on, just you getting those things done, accomplished, work turned in, work completed. Those companies tend to have a greater success in terms of growing the people who follow them, the people who and talk about them, the people who recommend them. Those are the people who work and are trained and developed and have a sense of purpose when they go to work each and every day. So the psychology of passion, let's talk about that for a few moments. Research by psychologist Robert Valoran, he differentiates 2 types of passion. One is harmonious passion, which is driven by joy and purpose. Remember, I talked about that earlier, in ministry, pastoring, or, being on staff within a ministry, whether it's a church or a Christian mission or something along those lines. That was a harmonious, passion for me, because it was just driven by, just joy, and passion to be able to help people draw closer to God, have a better understanding of who God is in their life and how he wants them to live and conduct themselves in this life and go about impacting people in their immediate sphere of influence, in their immediate family, immediate community, and beyond. So many of us do work beyond just our immediate family and our community. So I love, the mission work that I'm involved with, being able to support, those types of outreaches financially, with intellectual property and with resources, making sure they have, the materials that they need to conduct the work that God has called them to do that drives their passion and their purpose. And the second type of passion that Robert Valoran talks about in his research is obsessive passion, which is driven by ego or pressure. So there's two types of passion that he delineates or differentiates in his research. One is driven by joy and purpose, and the other is driven by ego or pressure. Man, I've been in those places where the things I was doing was driven strictly by my ego and driven by the pressure, to make X number of dollars, to be able to take care of my family, to be able to take vacations, be able to do some of the things that I wanted to do in life. So I want you to think about that. You have passion, and you can differentiate it or delineate it between two types: harmonious. I don't know why I'm having a hard time with that word tonight, which is, of course, driven by joy and, a sense of purpose in life. So many of us have found that. And man, God bless you. You found that where you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to be doing. You feel joy every day. You're excited to get up and do what you do. And you know that you're making impact on people and helping to change lives, helping to enhance people's lives, enhance your community, so on and so forth. And then there's that obsessive passion, where it's driven by our ego and driven by the pressure of life. So it's your job and my job to determine which one we're actually experiencing, which one are we actually living each and every day. And you know there's certain things that drive your ego. It creates a tremendous amount of pressure and stress in your life. And when you're doing things right, that you have this joy about and this purpose. And we're going to get into, the difference of what a calling is and what a hobby is. Because a lot of things we do, they're a hobby. They're not necessarily a calling that will drive passion and purpose. And that's okay. I believe all of us need to have a hobby, something that brings us personal joy. But a hobby is designed to bring personal joy, right? A calling is designed to bring impact. So one is for you and the other is for others, right? So the one of the things I wanted us to take a look at too is that when we talk about harmonious passion, it leads to higher levels of resiliency, creativity, and sustained motivation. So when you operate in that, when you're driven by joy and driven by purpose, you have higher levels of resiliency. You're more creative. You have a lot of creative energy when you're moving in that arena, and you have sustained motivation. You're just motivated no matter what the obstacles are, because you know that you are making impact. You know that you're helping. You're doing something good in your community to help your fellow man and to enhance the lives of others. Also, people who integrate their passion, that harmonious passion, into their daily lives, they experience greater life satisfaction and optimism, according to the Journal of Personality. And that study was done in 2020. So I want to say that again. People who integrate that harmonious passion into their daily lives, they tend to experience greater levels of life satisfaction and optimism. Now, one of the things I kind of touched on earlier that we need to talk about right now is how we differentiate purpose from, the workplace. A lot of times, many of us are working in jobs because we're gifted to do it. We're talented, and that's what we do for a living. It pays us well, but it's not necessarily a passion in life for us. So let's talk just a few moments about thinking about your purpose and your passion beyond your work, beyond what you do for a living. And the United Health Group conducted a study a few years ago, and they found that volunteers report 20% more happiness and 15% lower depression rates compared to non-volunteers. Now we're getting into another aspect. Now, you may be in a profession, in a job that pays you very well, you're doing very well, but it doesn't necessarily give you that harmonious joy where you feel that joy each day, that harmonious passion. Please forgive me, I'm getting tongue tied on that word. But when you tap into that, it can be found by just volunteering, getting out and doing some really cool and unique things to help others in your community. Whether that's doing something like, I can remember I was just a poor, struggling college student, right? Didn't have much of anything. And I decided to volunteer for Meals on Wheels. Young kid, just knew I needed to be doing something to help the community there in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where I was living and going to school, and decided to volunteer with Meals on Wheels. A couple of days a week, I'm going out delivering hot meals, picking up hot meals and delivering them to uh, some of our most vulnerable people, one of our most vulnerable populations. Some of our seniors would be in their homes and had to, choose to pay for their medication, choose to pay for their utilities, and didn't have food in the house. Really heartbreaking. So I was able to get out and deliver those hot meals a couple times a week. And at the time, I was actually volunteering at the local Boys and Girls Club, going there a couple of hours a week and helping kids with homework and tutoring and, playing board games and table games and, playing sports with them, on the blacktop or across the street in the field that the church allowed us to use across the street to play football and soccer and baseball and all those things. And I decided, I went to the kids and said, you know what, on Saturday, what we're going to start doing, because we only delivered those hot meals, Meals on Wheels, during the week. So I decided, because we had a van, to have the kids begin to um, make some baskets, and also had them do some arts and crafts during the week, making cards for our seniors. And those seniors that I would deliver hot meals to during the week, we would go on a Saturday morning and deliver a basket or a bag with fruit in it. And, we'd make a sandwich, and they would have these cute little arts and crafts items that we made during the week to bring to our seniors. And we would spend some time with each one of them. So that was our project. We would do it at least once a month. And sometimes I was able to get the older kids to go with me on Saturdays, the teenagers, and we would deliver those to those seniors in our community. So we didn't bring them a hot meal, but we brought them something to eat, some good fresh fruit, which a number of nonprofit organizations I have relationships with would donate the fruit and the sandwiches and the water and the juice and all of those things. So I say all that to say is that when we volunteer to do things to help others, it increases our quality of life, right? Uh, and I'd love to hear some of your stories. If you could jump into the chat and tell me some of the things that you've done in the past, or even some of the things that you're doing now uh, to help your community, that really gives you that harmonious passion, where you have joy and purpose doing those sorts of things. The national, let me see. Okay, here we have, is that Dr. K? Dr. K, I agree with this. The best job I ever had was when I volunteered in South Central at the Wesley Center after the Rodney King incident. I've been volunteering there ever since. Wow. Yes. Wow. Isn't that something, how something in life, an incident, an event, will motivate us and inspire us. And what came to mind just now was, I can remember when 9/11 happened, how so many young people were inspired to join the military. The military, certain branches were having problems with recruits and getting recruits to come in and into those particular branches. And after 9/11, there was an overflow of people who were just inspired to come and serve and protect their country, right? And an event like that, Dr. K, inspired a number of people to do so many different things. So we have to use those negatives that happen in life and turn it into positives. All the stuff that we see going on now with a number of people being harassed on their job, specifically brown people. And I see a movement here in California where there's a number of nonprofit organizations coming up, a number of existing organizations getting into the fray and into the fight and supporting those in their community who are being harassed for one reason or another. And of course, I don't want to get into the politics of any of that, because on one side you can say, hey, if you're an illegal alien, you shouldn't be here, this, that, and the other. I'm not getting into that. I'm getting into those who want to help and support their community members, help them become legal if they're illegal, if you will, and help them find some peace, because a lot of people are afraid and scared, and we should be there to help support them in any way that we can. All right, I see my wife, Michelle. She says, I volunteer at my job by bringing the community together for events. Yes, yeah, those wonderful events that take place, getting the kids engaged, getting the parents engaged at the job are really commendable. Yes, thanks for sharing that. Anyone else have anything else they want to share? Some volunteering that you're doing now, volunteering that you plan to do, something that you've even done in the past. I've given some examples when I was doing Meals on Wheels back in the day as a young, struggling college student. Didn't have much of anything, but what I had, I was willing to share with the most vulnerable segments of our population, our seniors, getting out, young people, volunteering and tutoring them, helping them, and encouraging them to get involved in the community and helping those in their community. So that was a great time. Even though it was a hard time for me, it brought me a lot of joy. It brought me that harmonious passion, if you will, which is joy and purpose. So the National Institute on Aging put out this report in 2022. And it says that having a strong sense of purpose can add up to 7 years of life expectancy. That's the National Institute on Aging in 2022. A report they did says those of us who have a strong sense of purpose, those of us who get out and volunteer and help our community, help those who are less fortunate than us, we can expect to live 7 years longer, okay? So if you want to be around here a little bit longer, this report suggests that we should, be connected in some way to some sort of purpose where we're out sharing what we have to help others, to increase the quality of life for others, actually adds years to our life. Okay, I see where Alicia, she says, I have enjoyed bringing the homeless water and food on different occasions. Yes, I remember you telling me about that over in New Orleans, in those big homeless encampments under the bridge. Yes. And if you remember, we did quite a bit of that when we were pastoring. Yes, when you were part of the church I was pastoring. We went out into our community. We were soul winning a couple of times a week. We were going into homes where mothers were addicted to crack cocaine, children in the house with no food. And we would go in and help clean up the place and bring our partners in to help with different aspects of life, with, job training, with food and clothes. It was a lot of hard work, right? But man, it was just it brought so much joy to us as a church community, and also to the communities that we went in to help. See, Monique says, I get joy sharing vegetable and fruits I have grown with neighbors and friends. Let me see. Last Mother's Day, I made 8 vases of flowers for others to give to loved ones. I'm honor of my mom, in honor of my mom. Yes. Matter of fact, Monique gave me a couple of plants today that I need to plant, get it in a pot so it can grow. And Monique, what is it again? I know it has the leaves on there I can pluck off and put in my salad and eat, but I can't remember exactly what it is. Michelle came in today and she said, "What is this?" But yes, you've given me zucchini, and what are some of the other things that you've given me? Those really sweet tomatoes from your garden. There's a couple other things. Yes, definitely. I can see how that brings joy to you. When you came to my classroom this morning and brought those to me, I could see the joy on your face. Yes, volunteering, Dr. K, volunteering is extremely rewarding for me. If I make a difference in just one person's life or situation, then I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Yes. Yeah, just, man, if we can just impact one person, right, in life, just one person makes a big difference. You know, we don't have to necessarily think on a grander scale, just start. I can remember in a community I was living in. Matter of fact, it was my first home that I bought. Uh, Paid $12,000 for it. That's it, bok choy, bok choy. Monique said the plant she gave me today is bok choy. And I can remember, just trash being everywhere. And I would get out there on Saturday mornings and just start walking around the neighborhood, just picking up trash. Have trash bags on the back of my truck, just driving through the neighborhood, just picking up trash. And eventually, over a course of some weeks, others in the neighborhood began to come and help me and say, "Yeah, man, I want to come out and help you." And from that experience, the church I was a part of at the time, I was the assistant pastor there, and they would come to church with me just from seeing me out there picking up trash. It was a great way to, just show love for our community and show love to people, introduce them to my faith and what brought me so much joy and passion and purpose at the time. Yes, let me see. Hello. I've enjoyed. Let me see. Yes, yeah, volunteering, it's so rewarding. And of course, the study from the National Institute on Aging says that if you volunteer, you do those sorts of things, you live longer, you live a better quality of life instead of being self-absorbed and just in your own world doing your own thing. Okay. Let's talk about defining passion and purpose, because we hear these words all the time, and sometimes we don't even know what they mean or how it applies in a practical sense in our daily lives, right? So passion is what excites us, right? I get excited, man, when I used to go hiking every weekend. I haven't done that in quite some time. I've been somewhat distracted with other things. I've recently been able to get out a couple times over the past month and get out and hike, take my pictures. I love taking my pictures, my photos. But that's one of the things that really, really excites me. Getting out and getting some hiking in. Michelle and I used to go play tennis all the time. That was exciting. And that's something we talked about picking back up and doing again and getting back on it and sticking to it and not letting, the cares of life, get so overwhelming that we don't do the things that really excites us and the things we enjoy. We used to get out often and take a road trip. I would just say, hey, pack up some stuff on a Friday evening. We'll take a road trip, excuse me. We go down to, Lake Tahoe, or go to Yosemite, or drive out to Carmel by the ocean, by the sea, or take some of those types of trips. And those kind of things really brought fulfillment and excitement to life. So passion is what excites you. Purpose is why it matters. I want you to think about that for a minute. Passion is what excites you. Purpose is why it matters. Okay. So do what excites you, but turn it into what really matters. Just to kind of give an example on hiking. When I was hiking a lot, I was on this website, not this website, on this app for hikers, where we communicate with each other. You learn about hiking. If you, before you went to somewhere you wanted to hike, in the app, you can see people giving advice on, what kind of supplies you needed, what to look out in terms of for weather or for wildlife, things of that nature. And being able to go and do like Mission Peak, which was one of the toughest hikes I've ever done, even in my military experience, going out and training and being out in the field. That hike, Mission Peak in Fremont, California, is a tough hike. And just being able to share with people, at the very beginning of the hike, people be there for the first time and they say, "Excuse me, this is my first time here. What should I be uh, concerned about, or what should I be aware of?" And just being able to talk and share with people. Yeah, well, I've been up here several times, and you just gotta, once you get to a certain point, you're gonna get tired. You're gonna want to turn around, but you got to push yourself. Stop. Eat one of your snacks. Drink some water. Take some pictures. Talk to people as they're coming up, as they're coming down. Ask them questions. And if you do that, once you get up to the top, when you get to the top of Mission Peak, and you're able to see, the city and see the bay and all of those things from up there, take pictures with your friends, it's going to be well worth it, right? So uh, remember, passion is what excites us. Purpose is why it matters. Yes. Yes. Michelle says, I hope we can get back to those days, and we will. We will get back. Yeah, road tripping. Yes, yes. Ask yourself, what would I keep doing even if I wasn't paid for it? What would I keep doing even if I wasn't paid for it? That's an easy question for me. I'll give you the first thing comes to mind when I was thinking about this particular topic. What would I do even if I didn't get paid for? Man, teaching, just teaching every week. Have an opportunity to teach and help people. My students at the college level, university level, I conduct those one-on-ones with my students, and being able to get on those one-on-ones with them and feel and experience with them some of the things that they're going through. They're feeling pressure to get a paper done, or some research they're having some difficulties with. And, being able to get on those one-on-ones and just tell them, hey, look, take a deep breath. And here's some examples for you to follow. Here's some suggestions for you to kind of take a look at, and to see those light bulbs go off, and just someone just taking the time, not only just giving all of these assignments through the system Canvas that we use, but someone, being able to talk to and get a sense of knowing that person, because the one-on-ones really are designed. And I think my dean, Dr. Darrell Green over at Langston University, he really mentored me and educated me on the importance of those one-on-one sessions, gave me the framework on how to do those one-on-one sessions. And man, you talk about a powerful tool, because you get a chance to get to know your students, and they really get a chance to know you. That was one of the things. Yes. Let's see. Educating. I see Dr. K. Teaching, educating, supporting, helping people find their purpose. Man, that is, helping people find their purpose is man. I can't even explain that feeling, right? Um, I can remember when I was pastoring, and I was like, you know what, we have to change our mission, or how we execute our mission, how we execute our vision. Because when I went in, I was like, man, I'm gonna go out. We're gonna go into the poorest neighborhoods, drug infested. I mean, just all this zeal and excitement, and we did that. And we were wearing ourselves out, right? A lot of people came to know the Lord. We saw some good things begin to happen. But as I grew and mature in ministry, I realized, man, if we're going to build something, man, we gotta get professionals in here, right? We got to get business owners, entrepreneurs, doctors, and nurses, and we got to get professional people in here who have resources, who have some education, right? Some training that we can bring to the entire body, expose them to all of these different things. And when we did that, we started to see businesses launch in the church. We started to see home ownership increase in the church. We started to see people, getting new cars. We just started to see growth begin to take place because we just started educating, supporting, and helping people find their purpose, as you said, Dr. K. Yeah. Let's see. Michelle says, yeah, volunteering with seniors and kids. Yeah, kids. Absolutely. All right. So we answered that question. What purpose can we express? What purpose can you and I express to the people around us? Because sometimes I don't think we do that. We just go through life, our significant other, our children, our parents, our mentors. We don't truly express to them what we feel that our purpose can be. And the reason I put this in here tonight is because I want you to go and talk to the people that you love, the people that you trust, and talk to them about what you feel your purpose is, or what you would like your purpose to be, something that you feel a passion for, or something that you feel can become a passion, but it has an impact beyond just you, right? And talking to people, listening to people, we really begin to unravel, if you will, and develop some of the things that we can do. So don't keep that to yourself. Talk to people about what you feel your purpose could be. And those people in your life can point you in the right direction, can introduce you to people who can help you with those things that you want to do in life. All right. I kind of touched on this a little earlier, but we have to know the difference between a hobby and a calling. And let me jump in and say this, please. Like, subscribe, um, follow, hit that bell on the YouTube page. Please comment on what we're doing, so we can continue to grow our impact. Yes, our impact in this community with meaningful conversations with Dr. Devin Oten. So please get out and subscribe, like, share, invite your friends, family to come and join us, your colleagues at work to join us for these discussions that we have every week. We meet every Wednesday to discuss a topic. I got some really good stuff coming up in the coming weeks here, and developing for the future to have some folks come on and really help us jump into some of these concerns, if you will, some of these conversations that we need to have in our community. So a hobby brings personal enjoyment. We talked about this. A calling benefits others. For instance, I talked about my hiking, but someone who may love to take pictures, may love photography as a hobby, might use it to tell community stories or raise awareness of causes. You see how you can turn something that you really like into community impact. So remember, your passion becomes your purpose when you use it to serve others. That's when passion becomes purpose, when you use it to serve others. Okay. I see what Michelle asked, how can we know if it's our passion or purpose? What I just said will help you. Remember that, a hobby, which can be a passion, brings personal joy. But a calling, which is a purpose, benefits others. So you know the difference. If it's just purely a passion for you, it's something that really brings you joy, really brings excitement to you. But if it's a purpose, the way you can identify it is that it impacts others. That passion, that excitement, that joy that you have, if it impacts others, that's a purpose. I hope that answered the question. If not, please let me know. We can go a little further into that. And I see I don't know the name, but it has Ty R1776. Passion is that intense feeling that pushes you toward something you love. It could be for a person, a purpose, a hobby, or a cause. It brings excitement, energy, and sometimes even obsession. Okay, good point. Good point. Do I have any others? Oh, that's Toby. Okay. I hadn't seen that handle. Okay. All right. Yes. Yes. Good point. Good point. Yeah. So let your passion become, your purpose, and it's your purpose when you operating in your passion, it impacts others and it helps others or it serves others in some way. Now, one of the questions, I've gotten, people have asked me in the past is, how do and I believe, Michelle, this might help with your question as well. How do I get from passion to purpose? How do I create that pathway, right? To get from my passion to my purpose? Number one, for me, energize or identify what energizes you. Identify that. Identify what it is that energizes you. I saw my brother back home in New Orleans, Terrence Rice, on early. I'm not sure if he's still on, but I can remember when we were working closely together years ago. The thing that really uh, energized him was playing golf. Really good golfer, really competitive, and getting out, certain days during the week and even on the weekends. And with our colleagues, they would get out and competitively go at each other in golf. Um, that's one way. Find what it is that energizes you. That could be like we were talking about earlier, road tripping. For me, hiking and photography, taking pictures and telling stories from those pictures. I have pictures here in our home, and when people come by, I really enjoy just telling them the story behind this picture. I have a oil painting from Sister Joan Taylor, who was a part of our church many, many years ago. She did an oil painting of the vision of the church. Matter of fact, it's the only thing that survived Hurricane Katrina in our church. Uh, Oddly enough, well, I shouldn't say oddly enough, just the grace of God. It was sitting on an easel up on the pulpit, a low aluminum easel. We had refrigerators and stoves in the kitchen that were flipped over by the water and floated from the kitchen all the way into the sanctuary. Everything in that place was destroyed. We had a safe in the office that floated from the office up to the pulpit. Uh, and this oil painting survived on an easel. When I had the opportunity to go in and see the church, it was still the only thing in there that was salvageable, sitting on an easel with all of that water that came in there, all of the mold and all of that stuff that happened. And I love being able to tell that story. It's a little damage, a little water got at the bottom. It's amazing that it didn't fall over into the water and was destroyed by the water. But there's a little damage at the bottom. And I wanted to get it repaired and restored. And I can't remember who it was who told me. They said, "No, don't get it repaired. Don't get it restored. That's a part of the story, right? That's a part of your story. That's a part of your testimony from what you went through in Hurricane Katrina. Uh, One of the most devastating things that ever happened to me. We we're just renovating our new facility, and we were about to celebrate 10 years of ministry that October in 2025. We had Pastor Robin Gould from Charlotte, North Carolina, was coming down to preach. He had a couple of buses coming down with the praise team. We were going to have just this big celebration for our 10th year anniversary in October 2005. And in August, end of August, Katrina hit and turned, changed our world, right? Changed our world. But the great thing, I want to share this, hadn't intended to share it, and I know we're past an hour already. I'm going to wrap this up here really shortly. The great thing that came from that is that we had a number of people in our church who their children were going to terrible schools. They were having, tough times in terms of, work, job, living expenses. And Hurricane Katrina came and opened a door where they were able to relocate to other places in the country and get their kids in good schools. Some of them, the community paid for tuition for their kids to go to, private schools. Some of them, the community came together and gave them houses. Community came together and gave them jobs, opportunities, job training. It was just a door, I feel, that the Lord opened for so many people to go on and grow and develop and see a different side of life. So, I don't look back at it and think, oh man, my life was ruined or this, that, and the other. I saw the hand of God coming in and really blessing the people in our church. And so many other people in New Orleans, in the New Orleans area, and in the Southeast, down in the Southeast, everyone who was impacted by Hurricane Katrina. Okay, real life examples. Howard Schultz, the founder of Starbucks, his passion was bringing the community together. And he thought, how could I bring the community together? People love coffee. He decided to start a business around coffee, but it was because of his passion to bring people together. Tyler Perry, homeboy from New Orleans, he used storytelling and his faith as a vehicle to inspire millions of people. Now, I know some people don't like Tyler Perry, don't like his movies or whatever. That's beside the point. We're talking about passion and giving some examples. His passion, was to make people laugh, bring people together in theaters, and he used that as a vehicle. Many people have been inspired. I've heard the testimonies by some of his movies, some of his plays. Great content, right? Serena Williams, she transformed her athletic passion into a philanthropic purpose through her foundation's work in education and creating equity in her community. Now, there are going to be some challenges. This is the first thing you and I have to get over when we start talking about transforming or taking our passion to a place of purpose: fear and the fear of failure. Let me say it. God had not given us a spirit of fear, but one of power, love, and a sound mind. Okay? We can't let fear cripple us and stop us from doing the things that we enjoy doing, right? You just may have to have those hard conversations with yourself, with your spouse, your significant other, your family. Hey, we may have to make some life changes because right now you may be inspired. You may have a passion to go back to school, to become whatever, a nurse, a doctor, architect, whatever the case may be, a pastor. You may want to go and get in ministry and want to go to school and get, some foundational instruction and teaching and all those things. You may have to make a decision. You may have to get a smaller house. You may have to get a smaller car, get rid of that big car, get a smaller car. If you live in an area with good transportation, public transportation, get on public transportation. Don't let fear stop you from doing the things that really excite you and bring you joy. Figure out what that is and do whatever it takes. Chinese philosopher, and I know many of you are familiar with this, said that, the journey of 1,000 miles must begin with the first step. You got to make the first step. And sometimes we get paralyzed because of fear. And fear will stop us from doing the things that we know we enjoy doing, because we can see the risk, right? And many people hesitate because, their passion feels really risky to them. You got to get over your fear. You got to figure out how to get over your fear. And, I'm giving you some suggestions on how to do that. You just got to change the way you're living, for a season to get to where you want to get to. Social media often, it distorts. I think distort is a good word. It distorts what purpose looks like, right? We look at social media, we look at people doing all sorts of things, and we're like, oh man, I really wish I could do something like that. And sometimes we look at it and we think we can do something like that because we see there's 100,000 likes, and social media has us driven to look for likes, right? And for validation from other people. And that's the wrong way to look at it. Wrong way to look at it. Is that something that you really are passionate about? Is that something that really excites you? Or are you just excited on what you think the other person on the other side doing that is feeling or experiencing? You got to find out what really gets you going. And be careful. Be careful of what I would term overcommitment, right? You can burn out. You can get burnt out if your passion isn't balanced, with some sort of structure and in balance with the rest of your life. So I wanted to make sure I put that in there before you go run off and go tell your significant other, hey, I'm quitting my job. I'm doing this, that, and the other. Don't overcommit. You have to strike a good balance. You got to figure that out. You got to take some time, get some counseling, get some mentorship, do some research, and make sure you understand what you're getting yourself into, right? So I want to encourage you, start small, start small, start small. Okay. Don't jump into the ocean with the sharks. Okay. Start off in a local pool somewhere, maybe even in a local jacuzzi somewhere. So start small. Impact doesn't require a platform. I want to say that again. Impact does not require a platform. It just requires consistency, being consistent. Okay. You can't start it, stop, pick it up later, start it again, stop. No, it requires consistency. You don't need a big platform. I see Michelle saying, I'm quitting tomorrow. I hear you. That's why I'm glad I said that, right? Okay. I want to give you a couple questions and I'm going to close out. Thank you for being here, man. It's past an hour and 9 minutes, and you've hung in here with me. I hope that you've, gleaned some stuff from what we talked about tonight. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, comment our YouTube page, and help us continue to grow. So I want to give you a couple questions to think about, some reflections. You can write this down in your journal. If you remember a few weeks ago, I suggested that you get a journal as you jump on here with me. Write this down in your journal, some things that you can think about and consider. Think about this. Few questions. Think about what brings me joy and meaning at the same time. What brings me joy and meaning at the same time? How can I use my gifts to meet a need in my community? The gifts that you have, how can you use those in your community? If you could solve one problem in the world, what would it be? If you could solve just one problem in the world, what would it be? That can help drive your passion and your purpose. Consider this: who benefits when you operate in your purpose, and who misses out when you don't? Who benefits when you operate in your passion and your purpose? And who misses out when you don't? Last question. What fear or habit is keeping me from living out my purpose fully? What fear or habit? Because there's some habits we have, there's some fears we have, and it's keeping us from living out our purpose, our passion fully, converting that passion into a definable purpose. So think about those questions. I know I went through those kind of quickly because we've been on quite a while. Uh, yeah, failure. Yes, 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 failure. That's absolutely. That's the number one thing that keeps us from doing the things that we know we should be doing. The things that really gives us joy is failure, and you cannot be afraid to fail. You got to get over that, and that's why I suggested start small. Whatever that is, start small. Start um, with you, and start with a small group of trusted people to start working on developing a plan for that passion, and just keep that in your close knit, tight knit group, and have them help you work on those things. That'll help you overcome your fear. Yes, your fear of failure. All right, thank you, everyone. Passion is the fuel. Passion is our fuel. What excites us, that's our fuel. Purpose is the destination. And when we bring those together, we can cause impact. We can ignite impact, right? So passion is the fuel, the thing that excites us, that's the fuel. That's where we get the energy from. Of course, purpose is the destination. Where's this passion going to take us? That's the destination. And when we bring them together, when we join them, when we marry them together, we can ignite impact and make changes in our family, immediate family, in our community, on our job. Thank you, everyone, for being here and spending this time with me. Once again, like, subscribe, follow, share. Please make sure you comment on the page. Michelle says she's writing her resignation now. I hear you. I hear you. Yes, it's a goal, right, Dr. K? Yes, and it's hard, and we're looking for positive outcomes, right? Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you. All right, everyone. Listen, have a great night, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Also, Dr. K, she has her podcast, Unleashed, that takes place. It's at 3 o'clock Pacific time on Thursdays, right, Dr. K? So look up Dr. Cara Maldonado and her podcast on YouTube, Unleashed, and just some great information and content on her podcast. Make sure you check her out. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you for being with me tonight. Okay. Have a good night, everyone. Love you guys. Thank you. Thank you for joining.